After more than 30 years behind bars for the murders of their parents, Lyle and Erik Menendez might finally get a shot at release. Los Angeles District Attorney George Gascón announced that he'll recommend a judge reevaluate their sentences, which stems from new evidence presented by their defense attorneys in 2023, suggesting they suffered abuse at the hands of their father. "I'll never justify murder, and those were some brutal, premeditated killings," Gascón told CNN on Thursday. "They were sentenced appropriately back then, getting life without parole. But with how things are now and considering their behavior in prison, I think it's time to look at their case again and see if they can rejoin society." A hearing could happen in about a month, where a Los Angeles Superior Court judge will decide if the brothers will be resentenced. Gascón is in favor of reducing their sentences to life with the possibility of parole, which typically means they'd serve 50 years to life. However, since the brothers were under 26 at the time of the crimes, California law allows for youthful parole eligibility. Gascón described the brothers as model prisoners, expressing optimism that they might actually get paroled if the case goes to the board. One of the brothers' attorneys is even hopeful they could be home by Thanksgiving. The reevaluation of Lyle and Erik Menendez's case comes over 35 years after their parents, Jose and Kitty Menendez, were fatally shot in their Beverly Hills mansion in 1989. At the time, the brothers were just 21 and 18 years old. They were arrested less than a year later in 1990 and found guilty of first-degree murder in 1996. During their two high-profile trials, the brothers admitted to killing their parents, but claimed it was in self-defense, arguing they had suffered years of physical and sexual abuse from their father. The first trial, notable for being one of the first televised court cases, ended in a mistrial when jurors couldn't agree on the charges. In the second trial, much of the defense's evidence about the alleged abuse was ruled inadmissible, leading to their conviction and life sentences. While the exact details of their potential release remain unclear, several factors influence the recent recommendation for resentencing. District Attorney George Gascón expressed to CNN that he believes the brothers were appropriately sentenced back in the day, but deserve another look now. He noted his belief in the abuse they suffered before the killings and said they'd spent enough time in prison. Gascón's decision came after lengthy discussions within his office, where opinions varied. He highlighted that various family members had stated there was not only sexual abuse, but a long history of dysfunction in their household. This reevaluation was prompted by a habeas corpus petition filed by the Menendez brothers' attorneys in 2023, which claimed new evidence had emerged. Additionally, a recent California law allows courts to consider sentences in similar cases during resentencing. Gascón believes it's time to consider their circumstances and the possibility of reintegrating them into society. Among the new evidence in the 2023 petition for Lyle and Erik Menendez's case is a sworn statement from Roy Rosselló, a former member of the boy band Menudo, who claims Jose Menendez sexually assaulted him in the 1980s. Additionally, the attorneys referenced a letter Erik wrote to a cousin just months before the killings, hinting at the abuse he suffered. District Attorney George Gascón, who is running for re-election next month with a focus on sentencing reform, told CNN that public and judicial perspectives on sexual abuse victims have evolved significantly over the years. His office also looked into the brothers' conduct while in prison, noting their efforts at rehabilitation. "They've really turned things around," Gascón explained. "By all accounts, they've been model prisoners. They haven't just worked on themselves. They've actively helped others, which is pretty unusual." He mentioned that the brothers set up groups to support inmates dealing with untreated trauma and those with physical disabilities. Given their behavior over the past 35 years, Gascón believes there's a good chance the brothers could be paroled if the court agrees to the resentencing. "What they did was awful. They planned their parents' murders and followed through. But I think they've changed, and we base our view on their actions in prison," he said. However, the final decision on their parole will rest with the parole board if the court supports the district attorney's recommendation for resentencing. When asked about critics who claim that reconsidering the Menendez brothers' sentence is merely a political maneuver, Gascón firmly responded, "This isn't political at all." He pointed out that over 300 resentencings have occurred in the county since he took office in December 2020, including 28 for murder. The recent decision has sparked optimism among the attorneys and family of Lyle and Erik Menendez, who are hopeful that the brothers will soon be able to reunite with their loved ones and start a new life outside prison. "I genuinely believe they'll be home before Thanksgiving," said Mark Garagos, one of their attorneys. Another attorney, Cliff Gardner, expressed gratitude, noting, "We appreciate that the district attorney acknowledged the significant contributions Erik and Lyle have made while incarcerated, as well as the impact of the sexual abuse they suffered." On Friday, the petition for resentencing will be officially filed, along with evidence supporting District Attorney George Gascón's recommendation, according to Nancy Theberge, who oversees Gascón's resentencing unit. She mentioned that her team will work with the defense and court staff to schedule upcoming proceedings. Once a hearing date is set, the defense will have the option for the brothers to appear in person or via video. All arguments and evidence will be considered at that time, with the judge ultimately making a decision based on what's presented. The process is just beginning. Separately, the habeas corpus petition submitted last year is set to be heard in November. This petition seeks to either vacate the brothers' convictions and sentences or allow for discovery and an evidentiary hearing to present additional proof. However, if the defense agrees with the DA's request for resentencing, they may withdraw the habeas petition, which would become irrelevant if the court approves the resentencing, Gascón noted. "I don't buy into the arguments in the habeas," Gascón stated. "I think the conviction was justified based on the evidence at the time, but I do believe that resentencing provides a valid opportunity for them to seek relief." The Menendez brothers' case has recently gained renewed attention, especially after the September release of the Netflix series, Monsters, the Lyle and Erik Menendez story, co-created by Ryan Murphy and Ian Brennan. Additionally, a documentary featuring the brothers discussing the events leading to the killings was also released this month. Neri Inklin, the executive producer of the docuseries Menendez Plus Menudo, Boys Betrayed, described it as a miraculous day for the Menendez brothers. He noted, "They had exhausted their appeals years ago. They had no chance of ever dreaming of freedom, and only new compelling evidence could give them a shot at that." Kim Kardashian, a celebrity and advocate for criminal justice reform who has publicly supported the brothers, expressed her gratitude to District Attorney George Gascón for righting a significant wrong. In a statement on her Instagram stories, she wrote, "Your commitment to truth and fairness is commendable. This case shows how important it is to challenge decisions and pursue the truth, even when guilt isn't in question." Ana Maria Baralt, the niece of José Menendez, praised Gascón's decision, calling it brave and necessary. She added, "Today is a day filled with hope for our family. Together, we can ensure that Erik and Lyle receive the justice they deserve and finally come home." If the Menendez brothers are resentenced and granted parole, it could bring a bittersweet resolution to their tumultuous story. After decades behind bars, they could finally reunite with their loved ones, offering a chance for healing and reconciliation. The acknowledgement of their difficult past, including the alleged abuse they endured, might also shed light on the complexities of their actions. Their release could serve as a powerful testament to the importance of addressing trauma and the capacity for rehabilitation, transforming their narrative from one of tragedy to a hopeful journey toward redemption and a new life outside prison walls. And that's a wrap for today's video. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next one.